Alright guys, in the last videos we looked at the rules of divisibility, and then I briefly talked about prime numbers. I also talked about that word composite number. Now let's take a look at how all this information can come in handy. I'm just going to pop some information up on the screen. Now let's take a look at the number 462. And all I want to know is if this number is divisible by the numbers in this list. So I'm going to hide some of this information we don't need. And let's take a look at this number 462. Now you can run through this list a couple of ways and find out if this number is divisible by the numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You could start small and work your way up to larger numbers. My suggestion is to start large and work your way down to smaller numbers, because it will speed your process up just a little bit more. Let me show you what I mean. So the rule of 12 says both rule 3 and 4 have to apply. So let's take a look at the rule of 3 for 462. The rule of 3 says the sum of the digits is divisible by 3. So I'm going to take 4 and add 6, also 2. 4 plus 6 is 10, plus 2 is 12. 12 is divisible by 3, therefore the rule of 3 works. Now there are a couple of ways you can show that this rule works. One, you could place a check mark on if it works, place an X if it doesn't, or cross that number off with an X. I like to keep my work simple, so I actually just put a circle around the numbers that work and a slash around through a number if it doesn't work. So the rule of 3 works, but now let's check out the rule of 4. Well, the rule of 4 says the last two digits is divisible by 4. So is 62 divisible by 4? Well, the number that you would get if you divide 62 by 4 is 15.5, or 15.5. Therefore, the rule of 4 doesn't work. Since the rule of 4 doesn't work, both rule and 3 don't work together. Therefore, the rule of 12 does not work. Let's move to the rule of 10. Is 462, does it end in a 0? No, so I can cross off the rule of 10. The rule of 9 says the sum of the digits is divisible by 9. Well, 12, the sum of these digits, is not divisible by 9. Therefore, the rule of 9 doesn't work. The rule of 5 says the number has to end in a 5 or a 0. 462 does not end in 5 or 0, so the rule of 5 doesn't work. Now the rule of 6. The rule of 6 says both rules 2 and 3 have to work. We already know the rule of 3 works. Let's just find out if the rule of 2 works. Since 462 is an even number, the rule of 2 works. Since both rules 2 and 3 work, since 462 is divisible by both 2 and 3, the rule of 6 has to work also. Okay, but what about the rule of 7 and the rule of 8? Well, if you're interested in these two, what you could do is take 462 at this point. I'm just going to write it twice here, 462, and divide it by both 7 and 8. Divide by 7, divide by 8. And if you divide by 7, you're going to find out you get a whole number without a remainder, which is 66. So you could circle this or put a check mark here if you wanted. 462 is divisible by 7. But what about 8? Is 462 divisible by 8? Well, our number we'd get is, or the quotient is 57.75. This isn't a whole number, it has a remainder, therefore 462 is not divisible by 8, so I could cross that off. Cool, let's take a look at another number. How about the number 540? So I'm going to start big. I'm going to start with the rule of 12. The rule of 12 says rules 3 and 4 apply. So I'm going to write 540 below and look at the rule of 4 first. Since the last two digits, 40, is divisible by 4, I know that the rule of 4 checks out, or 540 is divisible by 4. The rule of 3 says that the sum of the digits is divisible by 3, so I'm going to add 5 plus 4 plus 0, so that's nothing. So 5 plus 4 is equal to 9. 9 is divisible by 3, so 540 is divisible by 3. Since 540 is divisible by both 3 and 4, it must be divisible by 12 as well. Let's move to 10. Is 540 divisible by 10? Since this value ends in a 0, it must be divisible by 10. The rule of 9 says the sum of digits is divisible by 9. Since 5 plus 4, the sum of the digits is 9, and 9 is divisible by 9, 540 is divisible by 9. The rule of 5 says it ends in a 5 or 0, and again, 540 ends in a 0. So I'm going to circle that value. The rule of 6 says that both rules 2 and 3 have to apply. Since 540 is an even number, it's divisible by 2. Since 540 is divisible by 2 and 3, it must be divisible by 6. But what about 7 and 8? Again, you would take 540 and divide by 7, and 540 and divide by 8. Well, 540 divided by 7, it's approximately 77.1. Since I have a remainder, 540 is not divisible by 7. 540 divided by 8 is equal to 67.5. Since I have a remainder, 540 is not divisible by 8. So I'm going to cross 8 off. Now all of this information comes in handy when trying to find out if a large number is divisible by another number or a smaller number. Because now I could take the number 540 and divide by any number that's circled in this list and get a nice whole number without a remainder. And in the case of 7 and 8, I wouldn't use these numbers because I would want to keep the math simple and I wouldn't want to get a remainder as my answer. Cool stuff.